have you heard about what's his name? He's like one of the biggest economists, black person, Sowell.
Oh God.
Yeah.
Uncle Sowell. Go ahead.
Yeah. Like he, and I've heard it from more than him. I haven't studied myself, but I trust. So I haven't fact checked or whatever. But he said like up until the black population in the U.S. started, because you had a history of slavery, the white population started higher when it comes to economic standards.
Of course.
And then the gap decreased up until 1967 or in the 60s. And then you had LBJ. He came in with like the war and poverty or something like that. And then he went into certain areas on especially black communities and said like, well, if you guys have a father in the house, we expect the father to provide. But if you're a single mom, we will help the mom. So we will pay. Up until then, there was less black kids that grew up without a dad than white kids. And it was, but since then, more and more black people, because it was especially towards them, like the welfare program, more and more black people ended up without a dad in their home.
And why is that?
Because the government came in and said, well, if you have a dad in the home, you have to provide for your family. But if you don't have a dad...
You think that's the reason why men disappeared from the Black American family? So. You don't think that the so-called war on drugs, which was started in full effect by Nixon, you don't think that has anything to do with it? I'm sure, in other words, from the school to the prison, that pipeline.
But I'm sure that it's not one thing, but I think definitely that had an impact on it.
Sure. Undeniable.
Yeah. So the thing is, and like even Obama said, like, well, if you don't have a dad, the probability that you end up in jail is like 25 times more or something like that. Yep. So what is the biggest challenge? The biggest challenge is that there's broken up families. Yeah. So if that is the biggest challenge for the pay gap, and for example, if you heard about pay gap, for example, gender pay gap,
sure.
Listen to Jordan Peterson on that. Like if you go into the numbers of it, it's not really a pay gap at all.
He comes with the argument that women choose lower paying jobs, women choose to take time away with their children and whatnot. Jordan Peterson kind of lays that argument out there in an effective way. A lot of people run with that.
But I totally agree with it because, for example, my wife, she's a career woman. And she says, like, what I don't like about the freedom of women is that we got the same rights as men and more rights than men, because like a man doesn't get, well, in Norway we get like baby pay now, but we didn't used to get that. It was only women that got that, like to get paid for staying at home.
But that was under the assumption that it was the woman who stayed home. I stayed home for 9 months with our daughter.
I know, but like most and the most psychologists, because you can't breastfeed. I'm sorry, you have a big chest, but you can't breastfeed.
There's no milk in these.
No. So the thing is that there's, my wife said like, well, it was great that we got rights, but when we got those rights, we didn't really sign up for that. We lost the opportunity to choose to stay home with kids. Because it's like in Norway now, it's almost no possibility you both have to work.
Unfortunately, it's become that way.
Yes. And one of the reasons for that is like, that's why, for example, like when I talk about left and right, and we can talk about the differences, the big differences between left and right, like philosophically. But
sure.
One of the differences that I think that is left and right is that left often has good intentions, but the long-term fruit of it is really bad.
And the same could be said about the right. The same could, you could just make a blanket statement, which in this case I think would be justifiable. justifiable, is that political decisions, whether they come from the left or the right, very often are just looking at the short term and not paying enough attention to totally the long term. But I need to push back on something that you seemed to overlook. Forgive me if I'm wrong. There are policies that have been put in place, and some of them are still in place in America, that play a humongous role in the situation concerning the absence of Black fathers at home and the income disparity between Black families and white families. One thing is, and what's his name? Eric Sowell. Eric, I think is his first name, Sowell, talks about only half of the story when it comes to the economic journey of Black people and who is at fault. And he says primarily it's Black people themselves who are at fault. My pushback is there's a whole part of history, several parts of history that are being ignored in that evaluation of the economic state of Black Americans. We can go back to 1921, for example, and several occurrences a little bit before and a little after.
Just one thing. What you're probably saying now, I probably won't know, so I won't be able to.
That's okay. I just want to put it out there for the viewers and for the listeners. Well, let me ask you: have you heard of the Tulsa Massacre in Tulsa, Oklahoma, 1921? I can tell you what happened very briefly.
Wasn't that like a few young kids were hanged or something?
Oh no! Let me tell you.
Okay.
After slavery, after the Civil War and after slavery, Black people rose up economically. Not all of them, but many of them, many of us did. Black people started to do well. White people in the South didn't like that. Everybody knows about the Ku Klux Klan, and not everybody knows about the reason for the Ku Klux Klan existing. They exist because basically of Southern white jealousy of the progress of Black people, and they were founded to do everything they could to suppress and terrorize Black people. That was the beginning of a process that slowly and sometimes quickly, suddenly, and permanently took wealth, land, assets and possessions, and cash out of Black hands. And that started almost immediately after slavery, when Black people started to actually climb up. In spite of that, we can fast forward to several places all over the South and the Midwest, in this case, Tulsa, where Black people established businesses, communities that were quite wealthy, much, much more wealthy than surrounding exclusively white communities. Tulsa, Oklahoma became known as the Black Wall Street.
Yeah, that I heard about.
Tulsa, Oklahoma, lots of wealth there. And you would think 1921 is both a long time ago, but not that long ago. Yeah. And what happened was jealousy, racism, again, bubbled to the top. A posse was put together and they burned Black Wall Street to the ground, killed a lot of Black people in that process. More than just a few boys, they killed a lot of people, hundreds. And every business was burned to the ground in Black Wall Street. That is actually the first time an American military plane was used to bomb civilians. They pulled in a biplane and they dropped bombs on some of these buildings. It's all easily verifiable. For the YouTubers who say that I'm always talking shit, just look it up. Tulsa, Oklahoma, Black Wall Street.
You have a lot of YouTubers saying that?
I kind of like it, though. At the same time as they criticize, they must be watching, I guess. So thank you. Yeah. So when you think about that an entire community, a sub-society, if you will, and I say sub only to describe it as being separate from the mainstream white society of the time, not by their choice, but by the choice of the racist majority in that area of the United States. When all of that was wiped out, think of the wealth that was taken out of Black hands. Now, this is just one incident. Take several incidences from that and go back maybe another 20, 30, 40 years and go forward another 20, 30, 40 years and think about all of, I can also get into how Black farmers have lost hundreds of thousands of acres. If we translate into the Norwegian measurement for land, mål, hundreds of millions of mål that has been taken from them by illegal means. It's all easily documented. So when you look at all of this generational wealth that has been taken out of the hands of Black families, is it any wonder? Is it the fault of, I'll say this, what is more proper and to focus on? Is it that it's Black people's fault that they don't have wealth these days? Or is it more proper and enlightening and unifying to say that, wow, in spite of all of the dozens of incidences like the Tulsa Massacre, the massacre and the burning down of Black Wall Street, in spite of that, there are Black people like myself who are financially successful. There are Black families who have generational wealth. So it's a narrative thing. For some reason, Mr. Sowell chooses to go here. It's Black people's fault that they don't have proper economy, that they're lagging behind white folks, and that they have no generational wealth. He ignores this large segment of American history, thereby putting a narrative out there that is easily consumed, no offense, but by people like you who are consumers of American news.
You know me already.
Consumers of, we're going to get to that, but consumers of American news. And believe me, there's nothing wrong with that. But I want people to have the whole story. That narrative that Eric Sowell puts out. And I think it's funny that a lot of white people in America and a lot of followers of American news outside of America, specifically here in Norway, will pull out somebody like Eric Sowell as if, come on, John, this Sowell. Black man is right. What's wrong with you, John? I'm sorry, Thomas. Is it?
Thomas Sowell.
Yeah, you see how much I listen to what he's doing. Thomas Sowell. Is his name. Sorry, I've been saying Eric this whole time.
But like, for example, Eric.
Do you see what I'm saying? He's leaving out an entire segment of history, and that's important.
But one thing, I heard Dennis Prager, do you know him?
Yeah.